Hello, everybody. I was watching a YouTube video recently of a homeschool room, and on the windowsill there were all these little weather gnomes, and I liked the idea so much I thought that I would make my own version of weather gnomes using our finger puppets. I will add the link to that video in the description below so that you can take a look at where I got my inspiration from. So for today's video, we're going to be working on rainy weather, and so let's get started. So for this project, you're going to need a finger puppet base. Now, I'm taking a minute here to show you the difference between the ones that I got from achildsdream.com and the ones that you can get from your local craft store. So the one on the right is from achildsdream.com. It has a place that you can put your finger in, and they are about 2.5 inches tall, whereas the ones that you can get from your local craft store are a little bit shorter and they have a flat base. So I'm quickly showing you some of the other materials that we're going to need for this project. I'm using some wool felt, some wool yarn, and some embroidery thread. So I'm going to measure off how much I need for this finger puppet. Now, if you've seen any of my other finger puppet video tutorials, you'll know that this one is going to be different for a few different reasons. The first one is that we're starting with the outfit first, and then we're going to work on the hair. And the other reason is that we're using a piece of felt that is flush with the bottom of the finger puppet base. Usually I make them much longer. And the third thing that makes this one different is that we're going to be embroidering some words on the front of this piece of felt. So I have my whole range of colors there on that dowel, and I am pulling out a blue that is almost the same color as the blue felt, and I really wanted a tone-on-tone look, but in retrospect I think that it would have been better if I had gone one shade lighter or darker. So at the very end you'll be able to see a variety of the finger puppets, and personally I like the ones where you can see the writing a little bit better. I'm going to embroider the front of this felt with the word rainy, and I'm just going to use some embroidery thread and a needle that has a hole that's slightly larger than a regular needle so that I can get the embroidery thread through. And I'm going to use a back stitch for my embroidery. And it's a little complicated to explain a back stitch, but it's not complicated to do. And I'm not tying off any of the back portion of this at all. Like, I'm not making any knots because I figure that once I adhere it to the finger puppet base with the hot glue, that all of that embroidery thread will stay in place. So I'm showing you, I'm almost done here. Here I am, I'm all done. I've got the word rainy, and I'm just going to come back in and add some raindrops throughout the front of this felt. Now, it's hard to see once it's all in place on the finger puppet, but you know, I did it anyway. I think it would have shown up a little bit better if it were a darker color. So I'm now going to put the whole thing on the finger puppet base. I'm putting some hot glue on the front. I already put little slits in the top so that I can wrap it around the neck part of the finger puppet more easily. Now, I have to say that I've made a lot of finger puppets this year and last year, and I've been making them for years, and I have never had so much trouble than on this set of finger puppets. It was more time consuming and more complicated than any of the other ones that I've made. I'm not exactly sure why, but I think in part having to make them flush at the bottom of the finger puppet base and getting all of that extra felt kind of wrapped around the neck was more complicated than what I do in my other finger puppets, in that most of them have a bit of an opening in the back. Like, I don't cover the entire base because I always add layers like little cloaks or jackets or whatever to my finger puppets, so I never mind about the back. But for these ones, I want to make sure that the back was completely, like all around, was completely covered. So I'm working on the hair right now, and boy hair is just as complicated as girl hair. It takes a long time, and I'm just adding a bunch on, and then I can trim it off and fluff it up. Now, if you're noticing a white cape on this finger puppet, I did cut this whole section out of putting a white cape on because later on I take it off and I add a blue one instead. I don't like the contrast for this one. And so I just left out that part of the video where I actually put it on because it's going to be different later anyway. So I have a little helper for all of these little finger puppets. My daughter is on the side there telling me what to do actually, but these ones all had kind of a specific idea. I had a specific idea in mind for all of these. So here I am taking it off. I hope it doesn't alarm you, but I did kind of just rip that off. And I left this part in so that you could see that if you're not happy with something, just do it again, just take it off. It's not a big deal. It's worse to have gotten all the way to the end and you could have done something earlier and you didn't, and then you're looking at it the whole time thinking, I don't like the way that turned out. So I did eventually just take that off and I put on a different cloak. Now I am running really low on my felt supplies, and so the only blue that I had was the same colors. So for this one, and this was my first one in a series of 6, this one in my opinion turned out okay. It didn't turn out as good as some of the other ones that I'm going to be doing later, because the everything was just so tone on tone that you couldn't really see. You couldn't see the word rainy, and you can't really see that there's a cloak or anything. So I feel like he needs one more little thing just to distinguish himself from the other finger puppets and from the other ones in this set, and so I'm going to braid him a little scarf. So I'm just using the same color yarn and making a very quick braid with just one piece of yarn for every strand of the braid. And here he is, all finished with the word rainy on the front. So every day the kids can put a couple of the finger puppets onto this little wooden plate depending on what the weather is that day. So if you would like to see the complete playlist for all of these weather finger puppets, you can click here for that playlist tutorial. And if you'd like to see how we made the lettering on the wood block for our finger puppets, you can click here for that video. And if you're on a mobile device, I'll add the links to these videos in the description below. And if you'd like to see more pictures, you can check out my website at pepperandpine.com. Thanks for watching.